Hi, guys. Welcome to the Cup of Fitness podcast. My name is Eva.
And I'm Julio.
And in today's episode, we're going to talk about something that I have been very guilty of doing. And I think I have gotten a lot better at not doing it anymore. I still have my days, but I stop myself now when I do it, which is comparing myself to others. And I think that is something that most of us struggle with comparing either your journey, your weight loss, your body to other people that you might see either on social media or maybe, before and after pictures and all those things. So I thought we would talk about those things. Have you ever felt that way?
I have felt that way. I have felt that way in the past, not necessarily, not lately, for sure.
Yeah, but you don't have really social media.
No.
Yeah. But when you watch CBum on
No,
YouTube,
no, I don't. No, no, I do not have the sebum obsession that all these guys have.
yeah.
I don't understand it. The Arnold one, I understand. The sebum one, I was just like,
Yeah. Yeah. So do you compare yourself to Arnold?
no.
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 You're like, I'm never gonna work out that
Yeah,
much.
it's unrealistic, right? It's like, and it's not even. I don't even think it's a look thing. I think for me, it's much more of the success part, right? Which I mean, I'm not even close to the success, right? But I think as a provider, as a man, as a provider, I think most men, especially I think at my age, which I'm now 34,
Wow,
we
you're getting
think,
deep.
yeah, we think much more in the provider way than, and maybe in my 20s, it would have been a lot more of the physical way.
We hop into the conversation where you were like, I don't know. I never compared myself to anyone.
But I don't compare myself. See, this is what we talked about, that the people I follow are so big that it's very, for me, I don't even think about it because it's so unrealistic.
But it's still your little motivation, right? Or like their little, not motivation, but you're like, oh, that'd be cool to
for me, I mean,
in their footsteps.
I think I get much more of like advice. I like to, how much I like to learn.
Yeah.
I listen to people talk all the time. She gets annoyed by it. She doesn't understand what I'm listening to half the time.
Even at the gym.
Oh yeah. I'm either listening to an audiobook, a podcast. I'm listening to, oh my God.
Okay, we get it.
Everything.
We get it. So we're gonna talk. We want to keep going about the. We said we were gonna not get off topic. So
it's too late.
Comparing yourself to people on social media. So one of the things I used to do for a really long time when I got into fitness, which I was into fitness like when I was 15, but back then you compared yourself to magazine people. And I hardly ever bought magazines because they were expensive. And then something about like being in a magazine, it's kind of like what you said, it's unrealistic to me. Like I was like, oh, they're magazine people, like they're famous, like, I can't compare myself to them. But then social media came around, and then all of a sudden, social media, especially like, well, it depends on your like the people that you want to follow. But for me, it was like fitness people. All of a sudden, they seem very realistic, like normal people, right? And then you would start, like, I would start comparing myself to them and be like, I've been working out for this long. I don't know what's going on. And then I would go into like, let me see what they eat. Let me try to eat exactly what they do. And then they share their workout program. I would do their workout program. And I was like, how come I don't look like that? And it's such a vicious cycle. Like it's horrible because one, it's not helping you feel better about yourself. It's you are putting yourself down most of the time because you're just, become obsessed with not like, why aren't you there? And why does that person look like that? Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I think it's even worse with kind of like these, because you have experience with this, and I know you do, where it's like the 6-week training program or the 8-week or like the transformation programs where you see the before and afters, like, oh my God, look at these people. And then you do it and you're like, oh my God, I didn't get anything.
Yeah. So one of the things that I have learned is, I've so recently I wrote this post about like you are only looking for the answer that's beneficial for you, or I don't know how to say it, that
which is most convenient is my
The
guess.
most
Yeah.
convenient. So for example, like I would find someone that's like, wow, that took them 6 weeks. No way. I'm gonna do that for 6 weeks and that's what I'm gonna get. And now that I have gone through my process, and that is something that we're gonna talk about, I realize that sometimes social media is gonna tell you something took 6 weeks, but that person, it took them a lot longer than 6 weeks. It's just unfortunately they want to sell you their program, and that just seems like the prettiest thing that you want to hear, right? I'm not saying like some people that's not true. There's some people that probably can achieve it, but before that, they were already training for such a long time. So they actually had muscle underneath. So when they lost the weight in those like 12 weeks, they look amazing, but because they already had muscle, so they were already working out. It's just, their body fat was covering their muscle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not like you can't lose 10 to 15 to 20 pounds within 2 months.
Yeah.
Definitely can.
Yeah. I mean, if you put your mind to it and you're willing to like put in the work and you're willing to, you know, embrace the fact that it's gonna feel horrible, but in such a short time, yeah, you could do it.
Yeah, but it's not like you're going to achieve, the six pack, right?
No.
So like for example, I started at 250 and I just hit below 230. But I mean, you tell me all the time, we're like, when are the six pack? It's not happening anytime soon, right? It's not coming. And so I mean, I haven't been trying to lose weight, but I've been going to the gym consistently now for a year and a half.
Yeah.
So maybe I shouldn't say that publicly because it doesn't look like it. But that's why I'm working on nutrition, right?
Yeah.
I didn't work on nutrition for the last year and a half.
Well, it wasn't like that bad, but it wasn't the best.
Yeah, exactly.
When we first got married, your
But-
nutrition was pretty bad.
But I do think if it's your first time, so I started my first big weight loss at 17. So I was about 295 and I got all the way down to 230, 240, about what I am today. That was a huge, huge change. But I was comparing myself a lot. It felt forever. It felt like a struggle. I was running every night for at least 2 hours. And so it can absolutely be detrimental if you buy into those comparisons that's in your head.
I think, we're all like, this is something that's very understandable and we all been through it, where you want the results right away. You want it super fast. I mean, nowadays I could order something online and I'll get it within like a day.
Amazon, yeah.
The next morning, sometimes, depending on what you buy, right? So we're so used to the fact that everything is fast. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen with weight loss.
No.
It's not going to happen. And when we start to embark on the weight loss journey, you are making changes. It is going to get uncomfortable, like a little uncomfortable, right? Because now you can't just be like, man, I'm really craving some pizza, which is what I've been craving, and I'm going to go get that tonight. And tomorrow I might do the same thing. You really have to like crave it, stop yourself and be like, well, I want to achieve my goal and I can't do that. So what I'm trying to say is, because you're making these changes and it gets uncomfortable, the time feels like a longer time because you feel like you're sacrificing so much more and you're not getting worth what you think you're sacrificing at that moment, right? You're like, I stuck to my meal plan or to my diet for 3 days and I didn't see a pound come off. But what about the other 4 days that you didn't stick to your diet, right? We got to think of those things. It's not like your body is like, just do it 3 days, you'll be good.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
But where the comparison really falls short is that because we have that short-term mindset, we don't realize that a lot of these influencers and a lot of these people have been doing this for years.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So I could kind of share, should I share my story?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I have quite a bit of fitness people that I used to like look up to. And I was like, man, if I could just look like her, I'm gonna be happy. Like I'm gonna be set. Like
Life is perfect.
I'm gonna love my body. Everything's gonna be amazing. Right. And it was such a dumb mentality of thinking, but we all go through it. So like I would like try to figure out everything about these people. Like I would try to figure out like what they were eating, what they were working out, what type of cardio they were doing, how much they weigh, because the moment I weigh the same as they weigh,
As they
I'm gonna
were,
look
yeah.
like that. Right. And it was just so wrong. And I realized that that was probably the time that I really didn't enjoy fitness as much because I was comparing myself so much to them. But did I talk about how I stopped it? I guess I could talk
Yeah,
about it.
how did you stop?
So I think this year, wow, I just stopped this year. This year, when I went through my own photo shoot prep, I mean, I had gotten into what I would say decent good shape at that moment when I achieved a good weight loss and I felt like I looked really good. I was like, this is the best shape of my life. Like I was actually just trying to get to that shape when I did the photo shoot prep.
Mhm.
Because when I was doing the photo shoot prep, I was like, I don't want to compare myself to anyone. I want to be better than that version I had like
Of
3
yourself.
years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really what I went through. So I realized that if you push yourself to where you've never been and you achieve that goal, then you have no one else to compare yourself to than who you were before.
Before.
So like staying in your lane. So when I went through my photo shoot prep, I was comparing myself just to that to that Eva, right? And that's when I realized like, oh, I haven't been comparing myself to these other fitness people. And I also realized that I had not been as consistent as they have been
Mhm.
for years. And I started to, instead of like comparing myself, I was like, man, that is some real dedication, because I've been doing the fitness thing since I was like 15, on and off. From 15 to 20, honestly, like it was just like my little pastime. It was my hobby. It's what I liked. It really helped me like with like, my mental battles and stuff like that. Um, does that sound like I'm crazy? Mental battles?
No. Well, because
I did it for my mindset, right?
yeah,
For my
yeah, but
mind.
the comparison trap is all mental,
Yeah.
right?
So then like I gained weight in my early 20s, whatever. So like, you know, I got lost. I lost my train of thought. Sorry. Where was I going? We're not gonna cut it this time. We're gonna keep going.
No, we're gonna keep going. But
Oh, so during
yeah.
those times, I like now that I look back, because now I've been a full year, 100% consistent, not just with my training, but my nutrition. And that is the longest I've been. Like I've always ate pretty healthy. You could
Mhm.
say I've always maintained a pretty healthy weight. Every so often I gain some weight. I learn how to keep it off. But this is the first time I ever like maintained this consistency. And then I realized I had to be honest with myself. And I was like, oh, all those 10 years behind when I was comparing myself and I was doing the fitness thing, I wasn't really doing the fitness thing as serious as I thought. For me to be comparing myself to someone who's been doing it for 16 years, been on top of everything, and they were going to gym and, all those things, right? So that's what I was trying to say. Like, I realize it does take a lot of work and effort to get there. And because I put so much work and effort to get to my photo shoot and what I have been able to achieve now, it has helped me to not compare myself to others. I can only compare myself to who I was yesterday, as like cheesy as that sounds, but that's true. I just compare myself to where I was and where I am now.
Hmm.
And that's kind of how I stopped. So just know that like if you are looking at pictures and you start comparing yourself, you just have to stop and just think of how far you have come, right? I also feel like you go through the comparison route when you know you're not giving yourself 100%. And
Meaning
you're like,
you're not giving your all
yeah, so
into certain
like,
process.
you make yourself this promise, you're gonna achieve your goal, and then you constantly like, what's the word? You constantly fail yourself, right? You constantly like break that promise to yourself. And then it's so easy to go on social media and be like, wow, she looks amazing. She must have like such a great life because her body's amazing. She must like have a huge confidence. And no, we all have something that we don't enjoy about ourselves. But I'm just saying, like, once you learn to push yourself to really going after what you want, you'll stop comparing yourself.
Mhm.
Did I go all over the place?
A little bit, but
Okay.
it was pretty good. Well, we're the reason why it's a trap is kind of what you were. I can relate it to something, which is the moment you start comparing yourself to someone else, you're taking the focus away from yourself,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
So you need to understand if you see before and afters and they're legitimate, that person was probably going through exactly the pain that you were going through 6 months earlier.
Mhm,
They just decided to power through it.
mhm.
That's the difference. Now, when you start comparing yourself, you start to give yourself excuses as to, well, I maybe I can, go off.
Maybe that person's more disciplined than me.
Yeah,
Maybe that person's luckier.
maybe that person likes rice cakes for some reason, and I just don't like rice cakes.
Yeah, there's like an
Right?
adage of like, adage, is that the word?
What is it?
I said that wrong. I said the wrong word.
I have no idea what you just said. I was like, what?
There's no shortage.
Oh, a shortage.
When I used to work
Oh,
at
a
a cell phone
shortage.
place of chocolate rice cakes.
Chocolate rice cake. Yeah, apparently there is. We've been hearing through the grapevine. Uh, but it is an absolute trap, and you have to be very, very, very careful with yourself, not doing that type
I
of
also
stuff.
think you like kind of devaluate like the other person's hard work if you start saying like they're just lucky. It's so easy for
Yeah,
them.
yeah, I agree.
They must not do anything, like for example, like we all have a busy life. We all have, you know, some sort of job, or like, I have my business, and like I still have to find the time to go for my steps, go for my walk. I still have to prep meals, right? So it's it's gonna require a lot of effort. So the next time you look at someone, what I do now, I'm like, man, like instead of me thinking like, oh, she's so lucky, I'm like, man, that person is dedicated. And if she could do it, why can't I?
Yeah, why can't I?
I just need to put in a couple more years. Just watch me.
Yeah, yeah. And really the results that you want doesn't mean it's going to take you, years. I mean, it just depends on what type of person you are. It can be just a couple of months, it could be a year. It just really depends what you're trying to get to.
Yeah, the other thing is like about the before and after pictures.
Yeah.
So the before and after pictures, especially online, you know, most people, there are people who can achieve really good results within like 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks,
Wait,
but
but let's preface. It depends on the before and afters,
it
right?
depends a lot on the before and afters, because
Yeah.
the ones that used to like really fall into believing were the people who looked like a normal person who was just a little bit overweight, and then within 8 weeks or 12 weeks, we'll say about 8 to 12 weeks instead of the 6 weeks, all of a sudden they looked really muscular, really fit, right?
Really
Not
fit. Yeah.
muscular, but like really toned. The women had like really nice defined arms, like abs and everything. And I was just like, man, okay, 12 weeks. I got this. But you realize that those people actually had a couple years of training, and they just had some body fat, and they had to lose that body fat, and then all of a sudden they had muscle.
Mhm, mhm.
And that's where the before and afters can be a little tricky, and you have to be a little bit careful when you compare yourself. The other thing is like, I am an online fitness coach. I do help women lose weight.
Mhm.
And I do have clients who make faster progress than other clients. And there's really no difference in what like one person is doing versus the other. It's just their body, unfortunately, sometimes can take a little bit longer.
Mhm.
And some people are just willing to like push a little bit more than the other person. And you have to keep that in mind too. What is it that you are capable of actually committing to get to that goal?
Yeah.
Right?
Because I mean, the truth is, most people just show their best moments on social media, right?
Yeah.
They're smiling pictures.
Yeah.
While like 95% of the time, they could be depressed.
I mean, look at Thumper. He's over here showing off like
Yeah.
his beautiful little
Yeah. Look at him.
look at him.
Look at how cute
Wow.
this guy is. Oh my God. So I decided, I said, if he's going to be in the podcast, he's going to have to look presentable.
This is what I gotta deal with.
What do you think?
I feel like the third wheel all
Do,
the time.
do you like him? He looks pretty cute.
Yeah,
I'm
he
gonna say.
doesn't love me. But yeah, so like was there like something, oh, so another thing like I did talk about earlier was I would look at how much they weigh and then I would compare my weight to them and they'll be like, how come I don't look like that? You know?
And you're saying that you were basically the same weight, right? In
Yeah.
some cases. Yeah.
Yeah. So you want to keep that in mind too. Like when you compare your weight to someone else, there's a lot of things that go into why you might weight the same and look completely different. One, height has a lot to do with how much you weight. Muscle, if whether that person has muscle or you don't, like they're going to be able to weight a little bit more than you. So you can't look at someone on social media and she says, I look 150 pounds and I'm pure muscle, which is, I'm not saying that they're not. I'm just saying like you can't be like, I'm gonna get to 150 pounds, I'm gonna look like that, and you're like, way shorter than that person.
No, yeah.
So
Yeah.
you gotta keep that in mind. So I know like most times people would say like the number on the scale doesn't matter because like there are women who look really great and they'll be like 150, 170 pounds and they have a good amount of muscle and they're lean, but they're also tall girls.
Mhm.
But we don't think of those things because in social media, nobody's here talking about their height.
Yeah. Yeah. No
We all look
one's.
the same height.
Yeah.
Believe
On
me.
pictures. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
look taller.
Everyone does. Everyone looks like they're the same height.
And the other thing is like we have to remember, like, as I got better at things, gotten better. That sounds
At
so
things?
bad.
What do you mean at things?
At
What
taking
things?
pictures.
Oh, okay.
Like you learn. So before I used to be like, how come like I don't look that way until you start learning that everything is posed. And there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, I like to take myself a picture where I'm posed because I feel good about it, right? There's nothing wrong with it. But you just have to realize that most people are going to pose and you can pose a certain way and you'll also be, looking really, really good. And then you could be like, wow, okay, I could be my own motivation,
Mhm. Mhm.
you know?
I mean, there's just so many dynamics about the comparison
Yeah.
because we can even go. So we live about 15 minutes from Tijuana, where a lot of people get a lot of plastic surgery,
Hmm.
especially women. So sometimes you don't even know what they're doing or what they've done, right, to themselves to do those type of things. But that's another podcast. That's up for now. But you really need to be sure that you don't compare yourself because you need to focus on yourself. Honestly, if you focus on just yourself, you do not have enough time to compare yourself to others. That's really the truth.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That does make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why I said, like, if you prove to yourself that you're able to achieve a goal, you're willing to put in the steps, the effort, the work, and you're able to achieve that goal, all of a sudden comparing yourself to others becomes like not something you do
Yeah, just for
because
thinking
you
of that.
realize, like, oh, this is what's going to take to get there. And I can only talk about myself. Like for me, when I achieved the photo shoot, I was a little upset because I was like, man, I thought I was gonna have more muscle. But then I realized like, okay, this is my starting point for this, right? I did the everything that I could, I did 100%. I stuck to everything that I could, right? I put in all my effort to achieve this. Now, just imagine I put all my effort like
Moving
2 to
forward.
3 years later, right? Like, I'm not trying to skip my journey. And that's like another thing as well. We're so rushed to get there that we forget that you have to enjoy the process and the journey of becoming the best version of you, you know?
Well said.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said. But yeah, I mean, the comparison can be in other aspects as well. I mean, I see people do it a lot in their careers, right? What you're doing as your day job, that one's very, especially the older you get, that one becomes very common.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but in weight loss, it's weight loss and fitness, especially because people. One thing is weight loss. We haven't really discussed how long it takes to actually build muscle.
Yeah.
That's a whole different
It's
conversation.
sad.
Whole
It's
different
sad.
conversation.
Like you could lose weight a lot faster,
Way faster.
way faster
Mhm.
than building muscle
And that is scientifically proven.
naturally.
There are very good studies based on how long it actually does take you to build muscle. So those of you who have been going to the gym for the last 6 months and saying, I'm not growing enough muscle, trust, just we'll have a podcast on that in the
Yeah.
future for sure. But that, me understanding that, I think last year completely changed my mind on things.
Yeah, that's really where my eyes kind of opened up. And that's when I started to see the truth. I was no longer looking for the convenient answer.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh, I need to be real with myself and actually find the truth instead of just finding the little things that seem convenient, you know? Do you know what I'm trying
Because
to
it's
say?
it's it's super convenient for us to be like, well, I'm gonna be on a diet for 6 months, and then I'm just gonna go right back to how I was living. That's usually the people that just go straight up in weight, and they're right back to where they were before. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
I wish life was like that. It would have been awesome.
Yeah. I wish
But
I could eat pizza like all day, every day, and I wouldn't gain any weight.
yeah, I mean, I'm a big cookie guy. I love my cookies. I love baked stuff, but unfortunately that's not reality,
Yeah.
right? That's not realistic.
Yeah, and our body doesn't love it. But anyways, I feel like we talked enough about like maybe how to stop comparing yourself.
Mhm.
Hopefully this is something that can help anyone out there that might be comparing themselves. Sorry, this was like a long answer, but the best thing you could do is just prove to yourself that you can achieve your goal and then you'll stop comparing yourself. Yeah, there's no way around it. I'm sorry. And if you feel like you follow a person and you find yourself constantly comparing yourself to that person, unfollow them. I unfollow quite a bit of people who I used to like struggle with and like I used to kind of compare my body to them, you know?
Well, and also the best thing to do is to just enjoy the journey of it in itself. So as much as it is painful, there is a lot of gratification in understanding yourself, understanding your body. I mean, there's things that I'm eating today that I would have never thought that I would have enjoyed. Keeping a routine is a big one for me right now.
Ooh,
Um,
that's
and
my favorite.
and that's the best part. Look, you have the physical part where you look in the mirror, but a lot of times when you look in the mirror, really you're happy with all the work, all the hard work you put in, all the success you were able to get to the things that people can't see, in a picture.
Yeah.
That's what makes you happy. That's what's great about this type of journey. And so just make sure you focus on that and the comparisons will dissipate.
Yeah. Be the best version of you that you can be. All right.
Awesome.
Well, end it here.
Yeah. So where can they find you?
So you guys can go ahead and send me you could go find me on Instagram at a cup of fitness _. If you have any questions about anything, you can send me a DM and you could also comment here on the
Yeah.
YouTube.
Make sure you comment if you guys have any suggestions on any other topics that we could talk about. Feel free to let us know. And then like, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.